Ah, it's another beautiful day at the town landfill. The sun is barely peeking over the horizon when you enter into the dumping slab. This is a kingdom of refuse, where the air is thick with the smell of yesterday's dinners and tomorrow's nightmares. For most, it's a gritty dive into the underbelly of society, a place where the overlooked becomes the ordinary, and the extraordinary emerges from chaos. But today, you are the chaos. This is your first day working the slab, and to your joyous surprise, you see that he still works here. He being the coworker who wronged you, of course, and he is your special person. Whatever might this poor little child of God have done to wrong you, some may ponder. 3 ago, you were a helper on the trash routes at this particular local waste disposal company. Your driver, Jet Jameson, would never shut the fuck up. You might have complained a little about him to your girlfriend when you got home. You might have complained a lot, like a lot, to your girlfriend. Okay. In fact, your lovely girlfriend got sick of your complaining about Jet Jameson, who never shut the fuck up. No, really, he'd never would. Shut the fuck. He just kept going on about his life, whining about his busted body, the fungus on his toenails, a total diagnostic of his health history, and tales of playing with his Peter all by himself alone in his house. Because he didn't seem to have a girlfriend or boyfriend. One couldn't possibly imagine why. So you made an excuse to quit. You told the office management you had an accident and fell off your one-wheel XR and had a fracture. You were then gonna ghost them and never return. Why the stupid lie? Fuck if you know. It just seemed the polite thing to do. After all, 2-week notices are an outdated boomer practice. Besides, it was time to crack open a cold one with the boys and chill for a few days before finding a new job. But as it turned out, you were such a good employee, they kept paying you. Likely in an attempt to keep you until you healed from your fake injury. Panicking and reeling with guilt, you began struggling for a plan. Calling and asking them to stop paying you would be just weird. So in a few paid weeks, you return like the prodigal truck helper you are, guilted back into service. Then now you have to make up a bunch of lies, okay? You tell your coworkers you're going to sell your cursed one-wheel XR to further seal the lie. And much like the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, in steps Derek, offering to pay the ridiculously low price you offered. Selling it to a coworker would certainly help perpetuate the lie. So the sell is made. One minor hiccup though. Even though he was getting it for a super-duper friggin' ridiculously low price, he still was short $20. You agreed to let him pay later, and good old Derek walked away with perhaps the best trade deal of his life. So he thought.
Your sanity's becoming more and more at risk there, traveler.
Derek hides in the shadows and avoids work most days of the week. Perhaps he was kicked off of being a truck helper again for being too contentious or tweaked out. Although you did always admire Derek in a way. He was a genius. You see, with any task, Derek would analyze multiple different solutions that he derived from an expenditure reduction algorithm, which was the solution with the lowest ET-to-CR ratio, meaning expenditure time to concentration requirement. Once that was selected, it allowed him to make the most optimal decision. In a number of times, he's managed to find solutions so optimal that the ET-to-CR ratio was 0 time spent. So certainly this alpha geek Einstein is going to pay you back, right? time passes, seasons change, and unlike a Lannister, Derek never pays his debts. The realization happened a long time ago, perhaps instantly. What he owes you is never gonna be given willingly. That's fine. Perhaps even better than fine. That's great, because now you're going to take it, with interest. The currency. It'll be the elation of vaguely threatening rizz. Disclaimer. Attempting to torment, threaten, disrupt personal assets that don't belong to you, or inflict any form of psychological warfare on anyone or anything is considered cruel, malicious, immature, and perhaps even a reflection of the twisted soul you truly are, and potentially illegal in some places. But what if you did, though? Much like God, your favorite question is what might be the nature of the torment you prescribe for a sin against you. Should you even punish this poor soul with vengeance? ChatGPT says it's not psychopathy or sociopathy. No, you just have maladaptive coping mechanisms and shouldn't do it. But Cradle of Filth says, the caress of death is on the rise, its choking breath romanticized and dressed in greatest expectations. Thin wings lay on the ground, bound for the pound of the beckoning reckoning. Two great pieces of advice, but you have to choose the one that vibes the best in this situation. In what form shalt thy reckoning take? Ye shalt cast the subtle art of threatening rizz upon him. Yes, threatening rizz is using your natural charisma to charm. Razzle, throw people off by saying and doing things they don't expect and find hard to read. Think, creep tapes. We're just not gonna kill him at the end, probably.
Let the games begin.
Threatening rizz is about subtlety above all else. It truly only works when your target hasn't realized you've become the arbiter of their mental decline. To do this, you'll need to take a few preparatory actions in advance. Disrupting personal assets. Yes, a classic in the art of threatening rizz. Derek doesn't seem to own his own transportation, and thus relies on the charity of others. Tormenting him by altering or disabling his vehicle will not do in this situation. However, as the cooler fall season comes into play, Derek does bring a few personal items. A hoodie, and as it gets colder, sometimes a jacket. This may be a target of disruption. Disrupting his income. Derek is not a socially sophisticated individual by any means. Many a coworker has complained about him in the past. You've even seen him throw heated tantrums at people. He still hasn't been fired. How does he get away with it? Perhaps an irrelevant question. All that matters is lodging bogus customer complaints will not work. Psychological warfare. Ah, yes, the stalwart forefront of what threatening rizz is all about. Reliant on personal style, cunning, wit, and of course, charisma. Subtle threats are a beautiful work of art. Derek is a loose cannon, constantly on edge, and at war with the world. He may just be more susceptible to threatening rizz than average, even though he is a nescient little lamb. Tearing his mind apart will still take patience. On a day Derek shows up to work, you greet him with your usual chipper, "Good morning." He mumbles a response. But instead of moving on, you use the quiet, calm, not very busy atmosphere of the morning to engage in further conversation.
Dude, have you ever wondered if someone's out to get you? Maybe it's my schizoaffective disorder messing up again, but I'm always watching my back. And I'm pretty sure I was followed yesterday.
You say, nonchalantly. and then casually walk away. Now he's thinking you're crazy, perhaps paranoid, or he's not thinking of you at all, and instead gloating silently to himself about that bussin' burger he just tanked in 3 whole bites, and thus will later have a 9-inch grip on a 10-inch turd. Indeed, the steely chill of subtle peculiarity has not tingled up his spine just yet. Later you speak to him again.
And I know this sounds weird, but you ever wonder if God's gonna get you? That's gonna, like, get you for your sins, you know?
You casually ask. He mumbles another response. Does he notice you only speak to him when he's alone? You always seem to be there in the little nooks and crannies of his day, finding him in the small pockets of time between one place and the next. The subtle art of threatening rizz is often like a crescendo, the threatening aura becoming ever so slowly more palpable. The next day, a piece of heavy 1/4-inch lead pipe flies relatively close to Derek's head on its flight to the nearby dumpster.
Oh, crap, sorry, bro. I didn't see you over there. My bad.
You say with sympathy. Remember, in the art of threatening rizz, the realization must dawn on your intended victims slowly, like the creeping dark. They must question what's happening, never truly sure if you are strange and harmless, or ultimately intend their demise. The next week, everything has been calm for a while, but today, once again, you approach Derek while he's separated from the others.
What's cracking, Derek? I don't know what's going on, but I could swear that there is someone who keeps following me again and again. I don't know who they are. All I know is they better not turn up in here, or I'll be ready. Ready to slash and gash and put another hole in the ass.
A couple of days later, you find Derek's little hiding hole out in the nearby forest.
Dang, I came out here looking for a place to smoke, and it looks like I stumbled upon your spot.
You say, putting the spotlight back on you, taking his mind off noticing you've approached him alone again. And then, you take a long drag off your joint.
You ever listen to Cradle of Filth? Yeah, they're a dark metal band. You ever heard of them? There's this one particular set of lyrics they have I think of when I'm smoking, and particularly when I'm smoking alone. And it goes like this. All mirrors lead to my place, my palace, my exotic pleasure temple, wherein my court is both gracious and insatiable, pure and obscene. For where pumps the true heart of life, there too seeps corruption, and from this my new Eden of nightshades, black henbane, sphinxes, opium, and roses weaned on tears and blood, it will rise up like lust, and the shadow of my dark consort shall extend itself across the face of the world.
The ping-pong panties are y'all doing back here? Smoking that funny grass? Why, if it didn't cause me to squirt my undies like a tight teen on prom night every time I coughed, I'd smoke with you. All right, about time I got back to the truck. I got a route to do, unlike you slab slobs.
And hell will come with it. Those lyrics are about a man who finally hit the breaking point and snapped and came for vengeance. That is why I know it is our human nature to be monsters.
We are all someone's monster.
The next week, you corner him alone.
Derek, what's cracking, dude? Check out what I found in the landfill. Primed 9mm bullet, still in the show. What if I throw it on the ground? Think it'll explode. Yeah, I can never get him to explode.
The next day.
What up, Eric? Still riding that one wheel I sold ya? Oh, you sold it. Wasn't your thing, huh? Well, as I told you, it was cursed, and sometimes that curse follows you around even after you've sold it. I would know, 'cause I keep getting followed every day to work. Yeah, that's right, and somebody's followed me every day since I've had that thing.
The next week. Now it is time to up your espionage to the next level. You will observe everyone and everything. Much like a level on the game Hitman, your environment is alive with eyes. You must navigate cautiously to inflict the next part of your threatening rizz. As the season slips further into spring, Derek begins wearing a jacket in the mornings and taking it off around noon. We have acquired a personal target for disruption. Now, being the ever-vacuous child of God that he is, you can't get too carried away with disruptive pranks. Taking or placing odd or out-of-place objects inside the jacket or pockets would outline a deliberate effort to disrupt his psychological peace and possibly give you away. Cutting, puncturing, dismantling, or altering the fabric in any way might be romanticized by your inner pyromaniac, but could lead your victim to becoming suspicious of your threatening rizz too soon. However, there is one thing that has much in common with threatening rizz. It's invisible, but not intangible, pleasant and soft, rancid and all befouling. It contorts the emotions at whim. It uplifts, brings to bliss, but also guts your senses. Contorts your face into horror and make you puke up your innards at the turn of a corner. And that one thing is the sense of smell. A can of a nasty little fetid fluid will do perfectly. Two days later. The time for gags is over. Now it's time to take it to the next level. In order for your threatening rizz to take full effect, you're going to find out where he lives, wherever that may be. The approach is crucial. You or your vehicle following too closely or being seen in your intended target's vicinity outside of work will certainly cast suspicion on you in the aftermath of any unusual happenings. In this event, you'll want to follow far away. When approaching the target's dwelling area, keep in mind any housemates or neighbors close by may potentially inform your target of an unusual car or person in the neighborhood, as well as give them your description. A disguise will help blur the line between fact and fiction. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Rather, just distort your usual appearance. Next, approaching the target will take a certain amount of cunning depending on where you are. In a cityscape, certain places may be harder to get into and have cameras. In suburban areas, the same rule applies with neighbors. However, a decent disguise should hold up while you're casing the places you track your target to. Spend time tracking your target, learning their patterns and routine, taking pictures and writing down addresses, if necessary. It is now time for the grand finale of your threatening rizz. You wish to extract your $20 worth of entertainment plus interest from your intended target. But what action should you take? Vandalism. Even though you were stolen from, vandalizing a person or personal property would be outside the concept of threatening and move into aggressive action. We'll want to avoid that in this endeavor. Stealing. Even though you were stolen from, stealing in return also denotes aggressive action and will not do in this endeavor. Leaving a message. Indeed, a message revealing who your target truly is, and letting them know someone else out there knows. Of all the types of threatening rizz, this is the pinnacle, the most challenging and the most beautiful expression of self. It's a chance for that deep, dark miasma of repressed pain and rage to be released, one tiny, dark, putrid drop into the real world. Now, this is what threatening rizz is all about. You must take careful care to craft your threatening rizz message. Disguise your handwriting if necessary. Put your own personal touch and leave it vague enough that it doesn't end up revealing your identity. And the creative use of props is highly recommended. Alas, it is time to execute the delivery. Now it is time you must approach your target and deliver the message. The dwelling where your target rests their weary head after the day's labor is now your hunting ground. Your approach will be heavily dictated by the environment your target lives in. The placement of the message will have to be in an inconspicuous place where your target will find it. Plan your disguise and route accordingly. After the delivery is completed, now you can sit back and revel in your target's torment. Now they too carry around a scar, a lingering knowing that not everyone in the world will treat you right. Some will hurt you, some will steal from you, and some will look deep into your soul and make sure you know that they know. And now you know they know, and that's payment enough. Now that the deed is done, you'll finally have time to think. Think about how your mind and body is a part of this universe. Every cell in your body is made up by quantum particles, and in every one of these quantum particles has been something else before it's been you. Think of all matter as just energy, vibing energy, and you can only ponder where the real you exists within that energy. Perhaps you'll never know, because the universe outside of you has but one purpose: to show you limitation. To, at all cost, show you the meaning of insignificance. To quell your infinite creativity with the contrasting void. To hide that you're where the infinite meets the finite. You are infinite creativity. You are infinite stories. You are infinite worlds that you can see in your imagination. You are experiences that you can live out by thought alone. All of that goes on in a shell of meat called the brain, in a meat mech suit called the body. But where does that meat end and you begin? Perhaps you will find out. For it was Cradle of Filth who said, "Death is the next great adventure."